This edition of the Knightly News Podcast. We're so fortunate to be joined by Student Activities Director Adrienne Thoman for her monthly visit to discuss what's going on here in November on the activities calendar. Adrienne, welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for having me as always.
Not a problem. It's always a wonderful to have you here. We're also joined by Norman Geary, Vice President of the Media Club. Welcome, Norm.
Hello, everyone.
Just a few things that I would like to start off with. Of course, we're going to be coming up with Adrienne's featured 3 events of the month. We have a huge month of November. But I do want to just talk about a couple of things to keep on your radar for November. One of the things that I want to start off by talking about is our national runner-up men's basketball team that's going to be starting their season. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, they've already started their season. I've got a few students that are in Kentucky, right?
Yep, they are competing right now.
That is really awesome. I mean, it's got to be such a thrill for certainly people new to Central Penn, new to the basketball team, to be able to experience something like that. But as far as when the basketball team is going to be around, now certainly we do have a men's and a women's team. And Adrienne, you'll have their full schedule on the student activities calendar.
Absolutely. The full schedule will be there. You can also always find it at centralpenn.edu. There's an athletics link there that you'll be able to visit. All the dates are on there for all of our teams.
Excellent. That's fantastic. So we'll be able to keep up with the basketball teams. But I do want to just ask you a quick question. What do you do for the home games for those students located on campus without any transportation?
We do our best to keep shuttle runs going so that our students can get to the game. As with all of our shuttles, we always encourage students to reach out to me, let me know that you're interested in going and you need a ride, and we'll do our best to get you there in the shuttle van.
And it's amazing because if you just look on the student activities calendar, I'm already seeing all these different shuttles. Are you the one that drives the shuttles?
I am.
So you've got...
Usually. No, we do have some other shuttle drivers, but...
You've got your student activities director. You're also part-time faculty. And you have to take everybody around campus. When do you ever find time to do your job?
I'm having too much fun.
Well,
I'm having too much fun.
You know, and it's interesting that you say that because, you know, we certainly don't work at a college because of there's not a whole lot going on. There's always something going on. There's always places that were needed. I was just talking to Norm off air and talking to him about how crazy my day is, so I totally understand. I would love, and we all as a school would love to have our students being involved with the sports teams, especially our, like I said, our national runner-up men's team, but also our women's team also would need and appreciate all of our support.
Both teams have some amazing coaches working with them. I mean, of course, the men's basketball, the legacy of Coach Baker. We now have Coach Archer at the helm, and we're excited to see what the guys do. I think it's going to be a great season for them. Casey Hicks, Coach Hitz, is leading our women's team, so great stuff to see.
And Norm, have you ever went to a basketball game for the Central Penn Knights?
Matter of fact, I did not, but I know when we had the championship game, I had the company of 2 of the deans on the left and the right of me. I had Coach Heights. I had the basketball team members that didn't make it to the trip, and I also had some of the baseball team members at the underground. So we had an awesome popcorn snack evening cheering on a win of Central Penn in the underground.
So you got to go to the viewing party. That's pretty cool.
Really
that
did.
was fun.
Well, that's awesome. So first thing to keep an eye out for, of course, is what we have coming up with our basketball teams that are getting their season underway here in late October. And by the time you hear this podcast here in early November, their season will have been started. So definitely check out centralpenn.edu under the athletics tab to find out more information on when there'll be a home game or maybe a close away game that you can check out. A second thing that I would like to talk about here, Adrienne, would be the SGA elections. And as we know, you are one of the advisors for SGA. I guess one of the things that I'd love for you to speak about today is the importance of the upcoming SGA elections. Now, certainly we're going to talk about these, I don't mean to spoiler alert here, in the featured 3 events, but I would love to just talk a little bit more about, I'm not sure that some of our students really understand what SGA even is, or maybe what authority that they have, or maybe what their function is here at the school. So could you elaborate a little bit on SGA's role here at the college?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, let me just start by saying that SGA's Student Government Association is truly an organization that is the voice of the students. We're talking about an organization, the president of which has meetings with our college president almost on a monthly basis. She was at our SGA meeting yesterday. She is connected to our students and what they're doing. So if you really want to get your voice heard, this is a wonderful avenue to do that, because you truly have that connection straight up the top, right to the top of the helm there. Our student government also works with all of our student clubs. If we have a new organization coming in, student government actually reviews their bylaws, makes sure that they have all their I's dotted and T's crossed to be in active clubs, and that approval process happens through student government. Starting in 2017, they'll also be approving club budgets and working with them to give each club their own money and dollar amounts to manage as well.
Well, that would certainly be a wonderful addition to the Nightly News, that's for sure. Now, back to the SGA elections. When we have the elections, what are the offices that are up for election? And maybe could you just talk a little bit about their individual roles?
Sure. Well, we have the president, of course, vice president, secretary, treasurer. We also have a variety of committee roles that students can also get involved in. The officers are the main ones that are elected through the election, though. All right, so the main positions, you have your president. The president is obviously the leadership of the organization, takes care of running the meetings, makes sure the meeting dates, and really drives, I would say, the agenda of the Student Government Association. The vice president also supports that role, runs meetings when the president isn't there, also helps to make sure that the voices of the students are being heard. Secretary takes care of all those meeting minutes, make sure the agendas are written, make sure that email communication is constant with the members of the leadership team. And then our treasurer, well, he's going to balance the books and make sure that all of our money is where it should be and that everything is getting spent appropriately.
Now, Norm, maybe you can comment on this. That sounds very similar to what we do with the Nightly News. And one of the most interesting things that I try to point out to my students about these positions is these are things that you should try to go after as far as a way to build your resume. So, for example, if I have an accounting student or a business student in, I might see if they would be interested in running for the treasury position, because that's something that you can put on your resume that's going to be applicable to your future goals. So maybe I can ask you on a sort of a side note, how do you believe that your experience as a board member, as the vice president, how do you think that's going to impact your ability on your resume to say about how you led an organization?
Well, I think when you go into any organization, first thing they're going to want to see is what kind of organizational skills you have, what you're bringing to the table, and how you can help the organization out. So what I could possibly do is let the organization know I was involved with the Central Penn Media Club as the vice president. I helped not only do various activities, but I also helped organize events. And on top of that, I started out as a secretary, so I not only was a person that was a attention to detail, but I also knew from the ground up what projects we were going to get into and how we were going to organize and make them work.
I love how that we have this opportunity, not even just with SGA, but in all of our clubs, to offer leadership positions to those that seek them out. Now, so you said that all of those positions are up for election. Is this a situation where if you're elected for 1 year and 1 year only, and then you have to win a re-election?
Yes.
Okay.
So Sebastian is our existing president now. If he would choose to run again, he would have to run again.
Sure. Now, I know that last year we had a really nice turnout for the election. What is some of the ways that students, maybe even if they're not interested in running for a specific position, that they can still get involved in this election?
Well, we're going to have online web links, so they will be able to vote wherever they are on campus, even if they're off campus and they're an online student. They're also always welcome to, if you email sga@centralpenn.edu, that's a direct line to communicate with Sebastian, our SGA president. So if you have questions about who the candidates are, who's running, about what SGA is doing, maybe you have a suggestion, a comment, a concern, all those things, again, that's sga@centralpenn.edu. You're able to reach out that way.
Have you thought about doing a debate at all in the nature of Donald and Hillary?
We would love to. In all honesty, we were trying to set it up as a common hour, but the available dates actually turned out that we had it post-election.
Right.
So we ended up doing a get to know our newly elected candidates instead.
Which I think is great. So any hope for a debate?
It could happen. I know they're planning an election party, so it could be a good opportunity for them to have the candidates voice their opinions.
Even if it's just for people voting to get a better idea of who's up for election. Okay, so let's move right along into our featured 3 events for the month of November. Adrienne, what is the first event on the schedule you'd like to highlight?
Okay, well, I got to bring it up every term. We do a big ATEC party, the ATEC dance. It's always something that students are looking forward to and talking about. It is coming up Friday, November 4th. We have DJ Gainsbond coming back, who was a blast last time. He was amazing. The dance is going to run from 9 to midnight, and the theme is blackout. So wear your black. They're going to have all the lights low, and they're going to do like red accent lighting. So it should look pretty cool in there. But again, it's Friday, November the 4th.
Excellent. And number 2?
Number 2, I'm going to go with Christmas Shorts, Adult Merriment. I believe you might have heard a little bit about this before on the podcast.
Indeed. As a matter of fact, we just got done talking to Bob Sagano and Janet Bixler about this, and that podcast will be released later on this week to find out more about Christmas Shorts. But one of the things that I did want to point out with the Christmas Shorts was this is a very unique play because specifically what's going on is it's a grouping of shorter plays, but they're not skits, they're not sketches, they're more complete plays, but they're just, end up being a little bit shorter. This is adult, so I do want to point that out, that, don't bring the kiddos unless they're, of a certain age, because this is definitely something that's a little bit more on the adult side. But this is going to be a real blast because it's going to be a comedy. I think that a lot of the people here on campus are very excited about it. We actually have some faculty that are starring in the play.
I have to get my tickets.
So yes, we can absolutely get our tickets, and you can do that on the Eventbrite page, which will come along with the podcast, or you can always go down to the box office, and so you don't have to pay those online fees. Norm, are you going to be attending the Christmas Shorts?
I'm actually excited about it, and I know that the last event that I went to, I had an opportunity to not only interview Professor Bixler, but I also had the opportunity to interview the gentleman from the Carlisle Theater that brought it to the campus. So I'm looking forward to it.
When they had the First Date musical on
That is
campus,
correct.
which was just phenomenal. I mean, I don't think we ever followed up on that. I'll tell you, I brought my mom and my wife, and they were just blown away that this was, at Central Penn campus. They said, this is something that should be on the big stage in New York City. And obviously the production itself had come from Broadway, but they were talking about the musicians themselves. I mean, they were absolutely floored by that. So we're looking forward to a similar event for the Christmas Shorts. Real quick, just want to give you the dates on that. You've got a 7:30 p.m. show on Thursday the 10th, Friday the 11th, and Saturday the 12th. And then a second week of showings, you've got a 7:30 showing on the 18th and a matinee show that I'll be attending on Saturday the 19th. Adrienne, how about that third part of the featured 3 event?
Final featured 3, I'm going to shout out to the SGA elections. Mark your calendars. Make sure you get your vote in. They're going to have the election booth set up on Wednesday, November the 16th from 1 to 3 in the ATEC lobby.
And you said they're also going to be available online. Is that just going to be for the 16th that the online voting is available?
Yes.
Okay. So we want to make sure that on the 16th that we are voting in the SGA election. It just so happens I've got a 2:30 to 3:30 media and politics class. I'll have to make sure we stop class and go over and make sure we vote before 3 p.m. So, all right. So the featured 3 events on Friday, November the 4th, the ATEC dance with DJ Gainsbond. That's in the conference center from 9 p.m. to midnight. We've got our Christmas-themed play, Christmas Shorts. It's going to be taking place in the Capitol Blue Cross Theater from Thursday the 10th, 11th, and 12th, and also Friday the 18th and Saturday the 19th for a matinee. And then, of course, one of the most important things that our students can get involved with, the SGA elections, happening Wednesday, November the 16th, from 1 to 3 p.m. in the ATEC lobby. Adrienne, as always, it is an absolute pleasure to have the opportunity to have you in here each month to talk about some of the amazing things going on. So really, honestly, from special thanks from the Nightly News for you taking time out of your, as we established earlier, unbelievably busy schedule for you to stop by. So
Are you kidding? I feel awesome. I feel so thankful to be invited.
That's crazy. Well, you'll continue to be invited back, so continue feeling thankful, and we'll all be on the same page. So, and Norm, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to sit here and chat with us as well.
Thank you, Professor Miller.
Anytime.
Thank you, Adrienne.
Okay, so for the November Activities Podcast, we were joined by Student Activities Director Adrienne Thoman and Vice President of the Nightly News, Norman Geary. My name is Professor Paul Miller, and we'll catch you next time on the Nightly News Podcast.
Hi, this is Dr. Karen Scolforo for the Nightly News Podcast, and here's my leadership tip. I subscribe to the belief the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. Work hard.
Welcome back to the Nightly News Podcast for a special bonus edition of the Nightly News. And we are so fortunate to do something that we've been doing over the past couple of months. We've had news correspondent and Vice President Norman Geary coming into Voice Newscast talking about some of the things that have gone on in October for the month of November. So Norm, first of all, welcome back.
Welcome back, Professor Miller.
And thank you. And one of the things that has been super cool that you've done this term is you have been working on the news, being the news correspondent in your, you got what, 2 more terms here?
Yes.
1.5. And so I love the fact that we've done this and now we're starting to do a news podcast. So I've basically I've given you some guidance, but I've basically thrown it over to you to take and run with. So we're looking forward to hearing what you have coming up today. So let's talk about some of the news, Norm. What is the first story that you have coming up?
Well, I wanted to cover the Bobblehead Presentation Day. And after a month of preparation, planning, filming, and editing, the Knightly News Media Club, we presented the video project, and it was commissioned by the Bill Gladstone Group, NAICIR, and it was a commercial that we put together, and this event was presented to the Central Penn campus on October 19th. And the contest, it consisted of 3 teams. We had Christine Hoon, the Media Club president, Yolani Deco, the Media Club secretary. We had Liz Munoz. We also had myself, and we had Keith Guntz. We also had Lawrence Wilson and Nasir Harris, and there were 3 teams that this consisted of. The Media Club members were excited because 30 faculty members, staff members, and students arrived to enjoy this presentation. It was awesome that we met the Bill Gladstone Group and his team.
You know, one of the really cool things, and I also did want to squeeze in there, Norm, Sherry Long, who is a new Media Club member. She was the all-star of the project because she actually worked with each individual group and got to edit their projects for them, and they really turned out amazing. You know, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, we've been talking about this on the newscast and on the blog for several months now, the opportunity that we've had from both the Central Penn College Education Foundation and Bill Gladstone of the Bill Gladstone Group of NAI CIR Commercial Real Estate. Basically what happened was, and as you mentioned, we made little 1 to 2 minute commercials promoting the bobblehead. So when you hear the bobblehead presentation, what you're going to do, you're going to see the bobblehead makes a special cameo in each video. Now, coming up on, I believe it's November the 2nd at 11 a.m., we are actually going to name the winners and award scholarships, because really, that's what all this was about, to get our students some scholarships, and Gladstone is also going to be donating some monies to the Media Club as well. So we certainly appreciate Bill and Chuck came down and were on the podcast. and we also appreciate their continued involvement with our students at Central Penn College. Okay, what is the next story we have, Norm?
Well, I did want to go over why it's important to vote. And on October 25th, 2016, I had the opportunity to do a follow-up on the story I covered back in September. And the story was, why is it important to vote? And in the follow-up, I had an opportunity to interview Dylan Epler again, the Associate Resident Life Director. And he mentioned on Election Day, November 8th, he will be available to the students of Central Penn from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I do want to mention these extra hours are for the special day, and this is not something he'll be doing on a daily basis.
Let me just interject something there. I think a lot of people have asked what specifically he's going to be doing from 7 to 8 p.m. Can you shed some light on that, Norm?
Well, Dylan, in accord with the Student Services Office, will be offering transportation and running 2 vans to and from the voting polls for the students. The one van will be running in the morning and again before the polls close. Mr. Epler also wants students to know that the Students' Life Office will be making up packets, and these packets will have information inside of them to inform the students on the candidates. The Student Life Office will also be open to answer any questions and inquiries, and Mr. Epler and his staff will make themselves available, as I mentioned, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. to answer any inquiries.
You know, I actually had the opportunity to have Dylan into my recent media and politics class just before the voter registration was complete. And I'll tell you, this guy is one of the most passionate people that you'd ever have the opportunity to meet. And all he cares about, you know what, and I'm paraphrasing here, but when he was in my class, his whole theme was, you know, we can sit here and talk candidate versus candidate. I care about just that you're voting, that you're taking the time to get involved in a process, that frankly, you hear that word civic duty. But Norm, it's very sad because now this election may be an outlier because of all the media attention that Trump and Hillary have been afforded. But frankly, in most cases, not even half of our own country, people that are eligible to vote, do. And it's really kind of sad when you think about it on the bigger picture. So the fact that Dylan and the Residence Life Office are going out of their way on this special day to not only try to and help educate some of the students with the packets, but also they are taking you right to the polls. So I think that this is something that's so important. So for you guys that are interested in a ride to vote, or for you that are just interested in a little bit more information, please make sure to stop by and see Dylan at the Residence Life Office. All right, Norm, what's your third story?
Well, I did want to go into the Alumni's Brews Tent and Fall Harvest of 2016, and I can personally speak on this on a personal level since I had an opportunity to work at the registration table from 12 a.m. to 1 p.m. assisting Sarah Blumenshine, the Alumni Engagement Director. From there, I was on assignment with the Knightly News, and I went on assignment to cover the alumni area and interview alumni, faculty, and staff that attended that event. What was really nice, I had an opportunity to meet one of the media club members, Sherry Long, who actually went to Central Penn in 1989 and majored in travel and tourism, and she mentioned, Fall Harvest to me is just like walking around and looking at the tables. It was okay, but the fun part was the Alumni Feast and Brews Tent. That was a chance to talk with people that were there, I went to school with. She also talked to some of the professors and staff of Central Penn that were there, and it was nice and relaxing, she said, and fun, and it was a setting that she really enjoyed and had a great time. Now, when I spoke to Sarah Blumenshine, she had mentioned to me the purpose of the Alumni's Brews Tent and Fall Harvest is a connecting event. It's a chance to get to know the different professors and the staff that are there and meet the people that are in the brews tent. And it's also a way to make connections with old classmates. And it's also another way that the volunteer students who work the event to have the opportunity to meet the alumni as well. And I talked to one of the alumni, Shannon Terry, who is a computer information systems graduate, and she went here in 1995. And the comment was, "It's been great. I've enjoyed seeing the change and the metamorphosis here." And then Matt Carper, who went here in 1995, business administration. Matt had mentioned, "We were here last year. It was fun. And same thing this year so far. We enjoyed it, and it's been a good time, and it's been great both years."
Norm, one of the things that is very interesting to point out about this alumni feast and brews tent in accordance with Fall Harvest is the simple fact that so many of the people that I talked to, because I did obviously went to Fall Harvest, had a chance to stop by and grab a bite to eat at the feast and brews tent. And I'll tell you, it's so wonderful seeing people. I got to see some of the old students that I've had before. And I'll tell you, it's a little bit different for me now because I've been with the school going on about 4 years now. And I am just now to the point where I have had some of these students as freshmen, and now I get to see them graduate. It is just such a wonderful experience. One of our former club members, Christine Fusselman, I ran into her at the tent, and I literally had her in one of her very first classes that she'd ever taken since she returned to Central Penn. I also was happy to have her for one of her final classes that she was here at Central Penn. And as a professor, it's touching to see some of the kids, and I got to see another one of the students that I had previously, and she came up to me and she said, it was so wonderful to have you. I really learned so much in your classes. Here's how I can show you that. And it just makes my job worth doing. And it was just really, really amazing to have that opportunity. All right. Last thing that we'd like to talk about today is, Norm, you've been working on something in all of your newscasts, and we're going to keep working on this story because I really think that this story is timely, pertinent, and useful for higher education. So let's hear a little bit more about that.
Well, I'm glad we're continuing this because the more I get into the subject, the more that I learn. And where open textbooks are used is the topic. And in the Higher Ed Journal, July 26, 2016, in the news section, it brought up, quote, "Open education resources, OER, are showing signs of taking root in introductory courses, yet overall awareness of alternatives to traditional textbooks continues to lag," end quote.
Well, one of the things, too, that's interesting, Norm, is this is what we've been talking about. One of the things you've been looking at as part of your news correspondent duties is what's going on with open source or open education resources. We've been talking about the expense of college textbooks. We've been talking about the number of students that do not purchase textbooks because of their expense. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about some findings that the Higher Ed Journal has had recently about the OER.
The article also mentioned, Professor Miller, more than half, which is 58.1% of the faculty members surveyed for open textbooks said they weren't even aware OER or how instructors can even use the materials in a survey taken by Babson Survey Research Group. Now, if you go back to 2014, this same survey group mentioned 48% of the respondents said that these materials were just too hard to use. And in a comment made by Jeff Seaman, the co-director of Babson Group, he said, quote, "Many faculty have a really strong displeasure with the cost of materials, but many feel they don't even have the power to change things." So when you look at this survey was taken from a diverse group of people, 3,000 faculty in total, which included 2- and 4-year institutions, working full-time and part-time, and some were on and off tenure track and included those teaching online and blended courses. So they covered the gambit.
They basically covered every type of professor that you could possibly have. And, one of the things that's been interesting for me is that, that's something that we do have the opportunity to do here at Central Penn because we are a smaller school. But at the end of the day, I do think that the OER, or the open education resources, or also open source materials are going to find their way into introductory courses. I think the question remains, are they going to work their way into upper level course materials? And again, that's where the textbooks often are more expensive and often are, frankly, much more detailed and diverse. So maybe the opportunity could be there from some faculty members to start working on those. So, Norm, another great job. I think we're going to have one final look at the Open Education Resource textbooks on the December newscast. But until then, I got to tell you, Norm, you've been doing a great job on these newscasts, so I really appreciate your efforts here. So thank you very much, Norm, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Professor Miller.
Well, so for Vice President of the Knightly News and news correspondent Norm Geary, I'm Professor Paul Miller from the co-advisor of the Knightly News, and we'll catch you next time on the Knightly News Podcast.